The protagonist of this story is Ed, known as the one who rose to unparalleled strength and defied the odds after facing banishment from numerous worlds. Branded as the renegade, he embarked on a relentless quest to surpass all, challenging 41,000 worlds that once cast him out. Armed with an arsenal of 100 immensely powerful cheat skills extracted from each of these diverse realms, Ed, the resilient mercenary, tirelessly pursues his goal. With unwavering determination, he strives to overturn the very forces that once dared to exile him, marking his journey with an indomitable spirit and an arsenal of unparalleled abilities. The story begins with Ed, standing in front of door number 001, the one that leads to the first other world he was exiled to in the past. 100 years have passed since then, and Ed has traveled to so many worlds. He ponders the memories of the first door, the gateway to that initial world. The faces of his comrades who adventured alongside him in that different, invincible world remain etched in his mind even 100 years later. It's astounding how clearly he remembers it all. Only 10 years have gone by in this particular world. The banished traveler finally puts in the key and opens it fully, believing that a peaceful place is waiting for his return. Going back in a few hours, it can be seen that Ed is being told by his companion, "You don't have to come tomorrow," confusing the adventurer as he struggles to reply in front of his other comrades. Eventually, he understands what they're trying to imply. Ed asks Hiro if he really doesn't have to come, questioning if tomorrow is his day off. Hiro responds angrily, shouting that starting from tomorrow, they won't require him anymore. In a jesting tone, Ed asks if he suddenly says it, isn't he just too drunk? Hiro asserts to him that it's not a sudden decision. They've discussed this numerous times without Ed forming their consensus. Shocked, Ed inquires if Hiro is joking, addressing him respectfully. He responds seriously, stating that they are not joking. He acknowledges Ed's talents and the assistance and lessons provided since joining. He admits to inviting Ed to the party, where everyone was happy to welcome him, but then he angrily questions Ed's recent behavior. He accuses him of cutting corners on entrusted tasks, focusing on self-training while others prepare for an upcoming battle. He expresses disappointment, emphasizing that while everyone else is improving, Ed has remained stagnant since joining. Despite this, there is still hope that he might regain motivation someday. However, they've reached their limit, and thus he announces Ed's expulsion from the hero's party. He looks sadly at the ground, affected by the decision. But he is speechless as it is a bitter decision and is strangely grinning. A notification panel appears informing Ed that he has successfully met all the conditions, and 10 minutes remaining for his most awaited return. Ed yells in extreme happiness, and even gets up from his seat without an inch of depression, unlike before, which leads the party to think that their now former teammate is getting mentally insane because of the banishment. Ed disagrees with that though, and is all smiles while informing them that his wish has finally come true. So, he offers them something as a parting gift by using a skill known as dimensional storage, which shocks the hero, and the witch as they watch the guy pulling a bunch of books and ultimately presenting them as instruction manuals. However, the other girl shockingly asks him if he has dimensional storage skills, and she is more interested in it than those papers. She excitedly tells him that having such skill opens up a wide range of opportunities or ways to make use of it in different situations. Ed jumps away from her grasp and tells her to read that. He explains to them they can use this as a reference for whatever kind of growth they seek in the future. His compilation of efficient training methods is based on his experiences and observations from various battles. It's meant to serve as a valuable resource, tailored to support their pursuit of skills or development in the days to come. Therefore, the girl who seems to be their healer asks, "There's this magic I'm supposed to learn, but I don't know its name. Can you help?" So, Ed tells her that it's something she will discover as she grows older, and even gives advice on what parts to read to achieve it. The warrior, on the other hand, is just bewildered about the advanced and highly detailed map with traps and hidden passages recorded. He asks Ed where in the world he got this convenient artifact. Ed elaborates. It might be convenient to have a map, specifically for places they have visited. Warrior surprisingly inquires how he got this map without even visiting the locations. Of course, the exiled Ed will keep the details a secret, as he's not part of their party anymore. Upon realizing this, the party's leader Hiro apologizes out of the blue, and even bows his head to beg for forgiveness. He expressed remorse, admitting he had no idea that Ed was doing all this work without his knowledge. He was attempting to remove Ed from the group without recognizing the effort he was dedicating. The warrior also states that it's unbelievable that they have been reprimanding a young individual like Ed, especially when he has been outperforming them. It's rather disheartening he has also lost his touch. He apologizes, telling him that he was entirely correct. After that, the healer follows and says sorry to Ed for trying to get rid of him from the party, and they feel pathetic regarding what they did. Ed is troubled, however, and says he just wants to be useful before leaving the party, so the witch declares that they're taking back their decision to expel him, which even their leader, the hero, agrees and has no objections whatsoever. Hearing his invitation to return elicits Ed for a moment, but then he declares to them with a face that screams he doesn't want to go back anymore. His former companions are absolutely dumbfounded, and the hero is apologetic for making such a shameless demand, and with a tinge of sadness, acknowledges, "You're right. It's not convenient to banish you and then ask you to come back now." But Ed tells them he feels no bitterness and doesn't harbor any grudge, but instead hopes that his friends will defeat the Demon King. Ed's abrupt departure from his ex-teammates without saying goodbye leaves them bewildered, but he raced through the city with uncontainable excitement etched on his face. As the 10-second countdown to his return echoed in his ears, he navigated the bustling streets, exchanging smiles with the townsfolk he passed by. With agile movements, he bounded across rooftops, determined to reach the bell tower. It was a symbolic place for his anticipated return. As the countdown ends, the world transmigration begins in a magical and otherworldly process, which doesn't take too long. It ultimately finishes when Ed's body gets teleported into a realm that for him is too nostalgic. Because too long has passed since the banished adventurer's last visit to this heavenly domain of pure white, where a table with 2 chairs and numerous yet continuous doors are lined up. As Ed sat down, visibly exhausted from spending an entire year in a previous world, he took a moment to stretch and collect himself. However, his weariness quickly transformed into determination as he shot a fierce glare at someone or something unseen. Addressing the mysterious being with authority, Ed demanded that they fulfill their promise and take him back home. In the absence of any apparent entity, the only object in front of him was a magical crystal ball, which may hold. Refusing to speak until the end, Ed wonders about the recipient of his words in this enigmatic space. A life of peaceful mercenary existence was abruptly interrupted as he found himself summoned to this place. A pure white, mysterious book lay before him, its blank cover drawing his attention. With only one door available, Ed contemplates reading its contents, no matter how unappealing they might be. Seated, he pursues the book, understanding that stepping through the door would lead to a new realm, where gaining the hero's recognition, working together for over 6 months, and establishing trust are key. Through an exile, he'd fulfilled the conditions to return here. Ed's somber expression as he places the book on the table betrays his confusion. Additionally, once the door is unlatched, it can never be reopened, revealing another passage to a subsequent world. Deep in contemplation, despite endless pondering, the text's meaning remains elusive to him. Frustrated, he gazes at the book, realizing the enormity of a century spent traversing 100 realms, each resulting in his exile. After completing his trial of venturing through diverse worlds, he's finally here, thrilled and shouting with joy. "Do you understand?" he exclaims, filled with joy. "I finally did it!" He suggests creating a celebratory atmosphere, hoping to bask in the moment. However, his mood turns down as he sits on the ground, pondering the lack of response from God. Despite this, he appreciates the eternal youth he experiences, even though it's limited to these other worlds. Training there brings physical changes, from muscle growth to weight alterations and even normal hair growth. Yet, upon returning to the white world, all these changes reset, and he reverts to the youthful body he had upon arrival. Reflecting on his extensive journey across 100 different worlds, which encapsulated a century of adventure, he realizes that he's merely a man who's lived an exceptionally long life. Contemplating the prospect of returning home, he laughs at the notion of being over a century old, musing that no one, not even the foolish or his own mother, would care about him. Flashbacks from his past life flood his thoughts, leading him to confront the mysterious figure once again, seeking fulfillment of promises made. At that moment, the globe begins to glow brighter. He recalls how each time he was expelled from another world, it granted him what he refers to as exiled skills. These were a set of abilities, mysterious powers that can be contained within a different dimension storage box named The Wanderer's Treasury. The globe also facilitated the automatic recording of his travel destinations on a map visible only to him, known as the travel footprints. Moreover, it granted him the ability to perceive dormant talents within humans through the glasses of 7 lights, and the capability to replicate something seen once, termed the half-fledged counterfeiter. This inexplicable power somehow enabled him, an ordinary person, to integrate into the hero's party. He strides toward the globe, thoughts swirling within his mind. "I don't care if it's the final achievement or reward," he mutters, his hands reaching out to touch it. His surprise is noticeable as he reacts. "Seriously? He has sent me another incredible ability." It's the first time he's encountered a one-time use power, and its effect astounds him. However, his attention diverts as he notices fluctuations in space, contemplating the sudden appearance of a door. Wait, more doors were always adjacent to the last one. Does that imply? He contemplates the significance of the door 000, the portal potentially leading back to his original world, the place he's yearned to return to for a century. Faced with the possibility of 100 years having passed in his original world, he envisions a bleak scenario of skulls and the deceased, wondering about the fate of everyone he left behind. His emotions well up, a mix of dedication and a feeling of having lost those years, prompting an emotional shout to the heavens. "Hey God!" he exclaims, frustrated and without an understanding of the reasons, purposes, or meanings behind his journey. He expresses the feeling of being forced into labor and seeks reparation, demanding acknowledgement for his efforts. However, met with deep silence, he grows increasingly infuriated by the lack of response from a higher power. The absence of a reply leaves him feeling unfulfilled, questioning the very nature of what seems to be the reward for his accomplishments. A book suddenly drops nearby, prompting him to ponder its significance. "What is this? Do you want me to read the same book as the first one?" he wonders aloud, shocked by its unexpected appearance. Upon reading its contents, he discovers that the digits under the number plate represent the time passed in the world beyond the door since his departure. He's astounded by this revelation and begins questioning the possibility of returning to the exact moment he was kidnapped and confined. Eagerly, he attempts to open the door, hoping to revisit that critical day, only to find it frustratingly unyielding. Another book drops on his head, leaving him perplexed. Upon opening it, he discovers a key tucked inside, accompanied by an inscription. "In commemoration of your total expulsion." Despite the irony, he realizes that this key can open the door to a previously visited world, allowing him to revisit it just once before returning to his own world, the world from which he was expelled. Considering the consequence of using this key and reopening a chapter he thought closed, he hesitates, his face filled with droplets of sweat. "I don't need it. If he doesn't return to some world, then the door to the world he wishes won't open," he asserts, torn between revisiting past realms and his unfulfilled desire to return to his original world. Deep in thought, he thinks over the potential outcomes of returning, particularly if it means being exiled once more. The thought of losing his temper intensifies his internal conflict. However, he rationalizes that if using the key only on the doors nearby, it wouldn't be such a significant risk. He will make a swift return from a suitable world, considering it an easy win. "Isn't it?" he questions, deliberating on where to go next, reminiscing about his past ventures into different worlds. He decides to approach the first door, the portal to his initial adventure. Memories flood back, reminding him of the hardships he faced when he was thrust into an unfamiliar world without understanding the dynamics. Joining the hero's party in that world was an aspiration achievable only by someone typically deemed a hero, yet his capabilities were limited to being a guard in that realm. The key factor enabling his inclusion was the first exiled skill he acquired upon his summoning, an unexpected role as the accidental flag bearer that brought him and the hero together. However, his limitations became apparent afterward. He lacked the strength to fight alongside the heroes or the necessary skills to contribute meaningfully. Uncertain of when he'd be cast out, fear drove him to search desperately for his niche. From arranging accommodations to gathering essential supplies and aiding in travel plans, he did everything within his capacity. Despite being ousted by his companions halfway through their journey, he wonders about their next actions, and what happened after that. Gazing at the number plate, he contemplates its meaning. 10 years? He murmurs, considering the passage of time since his departure from that realm. He speculates that within that time frame, they might have had sufficient time to vanquish the Demon King, possibly resulting in a peaceful world. Pondering this newfound peace, he decides on an impulse. Why not go sightseeing in this peaceful world? He determines, affirming his choice despite acknowledging the trip's mixed emotions. Even though recalling the past evokes a sense of unease, he admits that not everything was dreadful. There were undoubtedly difficult times, but not everything was inherently bad. Approaching the gate to the first world, memories of the challenges he faced upon starting his journeys through different realms flood his thoughts. Reflecting on those hardships, he enters the world, hesitating slightly. Is this the same place as the first time? He wonders, concerned about any potential alterations. Worried about losing his key, he resolves to carefully store away this valuable possession, recognizing its significance. Glancing around, he ponders his surroundings, considering the familiar landscape. There should be a town over there. He muses, recalling the usual features of the area. His thoughts lead him to speculate on the current state of affairs, surmising that even the Demon King ought to have been defeated by now. Given this, he reasons that there shouldn't be any formidable monsters lurking around in this particular location. In an unexpected turn, he finds himself under attack, surprised by the sudden aggression. Why would such a formidable opponent be in a place like this? He wonders, but with a dawning realization that he can employ his exiled skills in this situation. Without hesitation, he charges toward the assailant, contemplating his options. How about this one? An invincible, impregnable wall? He ponders aloud, considering various defenses. Despite his initial attempt, he observes that the creature's attack isn't hindered. Too bad. Your fangs can't reach my body like that, he taunts, contemplating his next move. He considers employing a magic dissolving liquid or a magic absorbent curtain, strategizing his defenses against both physical and magical attacks. After defeating the last one, with gleaming eyes and a smile, he determines to take it slow this time. Returning to the initially different world stirs up a sense of nostalgia. He reflects. That's right, it was a place like this. I missed it. Originally bound to join the hero's party and collaborate with them, this time, however, he feels liberated to wander wherever he desires. Noticing the wanderer's treasure box brimming with gold and silver treasures, he contemplates the allure of shopping and considers selling steamed buns and hero manju buns, reminiscent of the gear the heroes once wore. Amidst these thoughts, something strange unfolds, sending a wave of concern. He exclaims, "What's going on?" He runs at a swift pace somewhere, witnessing a distressing scene as the town starts crumbling apart. Troubled, he wonders about the cause behind this devastation. Despite the Demon King's defeat, the unexpected turmoil raises questions. Was it due to a conflict among humans or an attack by a demonic entity? Walking through the wreckage, he grapples with the situation. It's understandable that humans would become each other's enemies after the Demon King dies. But it's only been 10 years since the war, and I don't think this can be called a renovation. What the hell is going on here? His contemplation is interrupted by the sudden appearance of an old man who questions Ed's presence in the desolated area. What are you doing here? Hey, young man, there is nothing left around here. Did you get false information? The old man inquires, tossing a pouch towards Ed as a warning to be cautious next time. Taken aback, Ed responds that he didn't come here to scavenge for rubble. More than that, he asks why is this place in such a bad condition? The man responds, Huh? What are you talking about? He explains. It's been 2 years since this place turned into ruins, okay? It was the Demon King's army. This town got completely wiped out by their attack. This revelation leaves Ed stunned, trying to grasp the truth behind the town's destruction by the Demon King's army. Ed, taken aback, asks in surprise, the Demon King's army? 2 years ago. What do you mean, old man? The Demon King's army is still alive and well. The old man, puzzled by Ed's reaction, responds, he doesn't know what you mean, but the Demon King's army has been rampaging the world for a long time. He doesn't even know about that. And questions the boy where did he really come from. Utterly bewildered by this shocking revelation, Ed presses on and repeats the old man's words. He then asks what happened to the hero. That's right, there was a hero. Hero Alexis. 10 years ago, the prince of this country was on the verge of subjugating the Demon King. He received some shocking news from the old man. He died 5 years ago fighting the Demon King's army. In disbelief, he asks, He's dead? But he's a hero, right? It's not that easy. He wondered. That's why there was such a big monster near the town. The old man replies, No matter what he thinks, this town is proof of that. Pondering the situation, Ed reflects, Certainly, if Hiro was here, this might not have happened. He urgently grabs the old man's clothes. Then where are the others? There were 2 more members in the hero's party, right? Where are they? The old man, shocked by the inquiry, answers he doesn't know. Maybe they died together? At least he has never heard of them being alive. This is terrible, isn't it? They gave us so much hope, and now this. He has been hearing all this talk about how fast they were moving forward, but after this, he is not sure how much of it was true. The masses don't know anything else. Well, whether you're a prince or a hero, if you die, that's the end of it. Finally, bidding farewell to Ed, the old man tells him to get moving, too. He sinks into gloomy thoughts. Why did this happen? What transpired after his exile? Real heroes, not like him, fell to the Demon King's army? Everyone lost, and now they're gone? Their names, Alexis, Gonzo, Tia. Did his departure cause this? No, it can't be true. This unreasonable ending won't change based on a mere luggage bearer's presence or absence. It's too conceited to think so. Finally, he must witness with his own eyes the conclusion of the world he traversed through. With the burden of all this, he uses the Akashic compass. He seeks to confirm the final moments of these heroes. The compass shows him to the location where Alexis and Gonzo died, and he learns they likely fought and perished together near the Demon King's castle. He wrestles with the idea of visiting the place where they died, and with his head down, he considers whether to build a grave in their memory. However, when he seeks information about Tia's demise, the compass shows not applicable, leaving him without a clear answer. He angrily calls out, "Tia! Where is she now?" Utilizing his exiled skill, Hermes Dash, he dashes toward Tia, hoping she's alive. Then, employing his exiled skill, Mirage Shift, he searches for her. Meanwhile, he witnesses the Demon King addressing his army, rallying them for an imminent attack on another human town. Ed pauses by an enchanted tree. He considers taking Oran's fruit as a potential souvenir for Tia, thinking it might suit her taste for sweet fruits. However, he reflects on how he might be perceived from Tia's perspective, a troublemaker exiled from the hero's party, wondering if he would be welcomed warmly. He decides to knock on the door, reflecting that he didn't come this far just to turn away. When the door unexpectedly swings open, revealing a girl lying inside, he finds himself taken aback, surprised by the sudden turn of events. The girl queries about his presence, leaving Ed in a moment of shock. In this thrilling saga, a new chapter emerges across 100 unique realms. Reconnecting with an old comrade from the initial group where he faced exile, she stares in disbelief and questions, "Is that truly you, Ed?" Her doubt is palpable as Ed reflects on her familiar yellow hair and jade-green eyes, unchanged over a century. As she rushes for a hug, he protests that she is too close and she needs to calm down. With a playful pinch on his cheeks, she exclaims that she never imagined that she would see him alive again. Flustered, he retorts that she is exaggerating and asks her, what does she mean by not seeing him alive again? She explains how no one heard of him after their parting, leading Ed to confess that staying in the hero's party after exile wouldn't have looked good. So, he adopted a new name and began working in a different country. She's practically sitting atop him. In truth, mere minutes after the exile, he returned to the white world. Tia, visibly relieved, expressed her joy at Ed's safety. She was about to fall when he swiftly caught her and guided her to a nearby chair. As she settled down, she noticed something on the ground, a collection of Oran's fruit. With curiosity, she inquired about them, prompting Ed to explain that they were souvenirs for her. When she mentioned the absence of a bath in the house, he appeared surprised and questioned the need for a bath in this context. Tia patiently clarified that Oran's fruit was usually eaten after cutting and washing it in the bath, praising its fragrance and the effect it had on the skin. Despite her explanation, he seemed skeptical, suggesting that eating it as it is would also yield a sweet and delicious taste. He urged her to give it a try, assuring her of its absolute deliciousness, mentioning his intention to cut it immediately to showcase its sweetness. She notices Ed's tattered clothes while he's cutting fruits and questions him about their condition. He humorously responds that he's been traveling the world for a while, just to see an old lady he used to know. This prompts him to wonder about the effort he's put in for this journey. Tia mentions that she intends to change her clothes and he encourages her to take her time. Observing her in her pajamas, he finds himself a bit flustered when she asks if he'd like to change clothes together. He declines, mentioning that he's not changing. Reflecting on past interactions, he recalls how he wasn't particularly popular with women before. He vividly remembers Tia's casual gestures, like touching his body and bringing her face close, which used to leave him quite shaken. As he explores her house, he enters another room and is suddenly surprised when Tia approaches him from behind, apologizing for the delay. Ed is taken aback by Tia's peculiar demeanor and questions why she's dressed in the same attire as back then. He contemplates the reason behind her choice, considering the possibility that she's being cautious since she hasn't heard from anyone in a year and someone suddenly appears at her door. She asks Ed to remove his clothes so she can mend the torn parts. Then she questions if the fruits might be sour, being orange fruit after all. He confidently assures her, offering to answer any question if it doesn't taste good. She reminds him of his promise and asks him to feed her while she's occupied fixing his clothes. Ed is a little hesitant but obliges. As she tastes the fruit, she accuses him of lying, finding it simply sweet. He expresses his belief that the prank feels a bit childish to him, but Tia reminds him of their past playful interactions. Reflecting on their past, he frustratingly remarks that she was teasing him, not understanding the depth of her emotions. Despite appearing younger, Tia is an elf over a century old. He recalls trying to act mature around her, mindful not to give her the wrong impression due to their age difference, a situation that's proven in an unpleasant way in the end. Mockingly, Ed expressed his observations about Tia's unchanged demeanor even after a decade. He clarified that he wasn't harboring any grudges against her, despite reminiscing about the past in a light-hearted manner. However, upon hearing his comments, she sorrowfully apologized, taking responsibility for the situation. She presumed he had come to blame her and begged for forgiveness. Confused by her reaction, Ed asked her to explain, leading her to reveal the grim reality that she was the sole survivor of a past event. Ed, taken aback, requested more details about what had occurred. She narrates that after he departed, they attempted to find a replacement for him. Unfortunately, it didn't go smoothly. When he left, they were close to the front line in their battle against the Demon King's army. They needed someone to manage their baggage so they could focus on fighting. However, most respondents were eager for combat and achievements, not luggage management. Among the 6 people they hired, none suited their needs. Eventually, they even employed a professional porter, but they quit after only 3 months. When Ed asked why the professional porter left, she explained that the porter's duties were solely carrying luggage. She reminded Ed of all the various tasks he used to do for them. Aside from handling baggage, he managed cleaning, laundry, lodging arrangements, and even cooked for them. Ed cheerfully admits, back then he was so worried about getting kicked out that he did everything to make his presence felt. She acknowledges their misunderstanding, interpreting Ed's hard work as the norm. Alexis expected the same dedication from the new hires, sparking a heated argument. Porter asserted, "My job is only carrying baggage, no other chores." When told to hire personal servants or scullery maids, Alexis explosively commanded, "Then get out." Reflecting on the situation, she wonders if they were all equally pressed for time. The group's realization about the person they had exiled only dawned after this incident. Struggling because no one was willing to accept their job anymore. Suddenly, someone approached their party and asked if they were looking for a store. He can carry any kind of luggage and do any chores. Alexis, Gonzo, and she welcomed this offer eagerly. Finally, they resumed their activities, and that person worked diligently alongside them. After a lengthy journey through the demon world, as they reached the end of the deep forest and arrived at the Demon King's domain, she had a hunch. Expecting the unexpected, she was prepared, but that person vanished, leaving them with all the healing potions and magic tools they had prepared. The figure of the porter disappeared in a blue light, which turned out to be a teleportation crystal. That's right. She had readied enough resources for everyone in case of an emergency to return to the royal capital. Ed, bewildered by something he observed, raised his concerns about the responsibilities entrusted to a specific person. This individual, who had journeyed alongside the hero through the demon world, was questioned about their recent actions. Ed's inquiry stemmed from a suspicion that the person might have fled due to fear or perhaps harbored intentions of betrayal from the outset, potentially linked to the burden of the baggage they carried. This situation led Ed to contemplate whether their entry into the hero's party was motivated by opportunism, and whether their actions hinted at an ulterior motive. Tia expressed her weariness, acknowledging her lack of certainty about the situation. The events that followed left them with no alternative but to engage in a conflict. Then, a demonic beast emerged from the demon's world behind them. They were caught between a rock and a hard place, and there was nothing they could do about it. To prevent a catastrophic outcome, they relied solely on a single teleportation crystal embedded within the heart of Alexis' armor. Its purpose was clear: ensuring the hero's safe return and maintaining hope in their world, no matter the challenges they faced. She urged the hero to move forward, emphasizing his stature as a chosen hero and a prince of a significant nation, highlighting their commitment to following him. She expressed disbelief at his decision to forsake his comrades and survive alone, questioning whether a true hero would make such an unfavorable choice. At the end of the day, he chose pride instead of the hero's mission. It's just like him to make the wrong choice without hesitation. Furthermore, she addressed Alexis, indicating that survival by forsaking companions was not exclusive to him, suggesting a broader perspective on the challenges faced when abandoning friends. Ed inquired if Tia, who had been sobbing, calmed down, to which she sadly nodded in agreement, offering apologies and gratitude. Continuing her narrative, she revealed that after the incident, she was transferred to a secret chamber within Notland Castle. There, questions arose about her involvement with the prince and potential scenarios like her stealing Alexis Sama's teleportation crystal and fleeing alone, causing suspicions around Lunarisha. When confronted by the hero's father, she recounted the events, explaining the circumstances where the hero chose to hide in seclusion, suggesting that the hero's party might have been eliminated after traversing the demon world. Ed, struck by her words, expressed shock and found the decision somewhat reasonable, contemplating the situation. He balanced the fate of the world against the lives of his comrades and decided in favor of the latter. While that might have been his perspective, as a hero, it was an entirely misguided choice and could lead to severe repercussions. To think he went to great lengths to save his friends, only for them to be replaced. Ed calmly mentioned that the king respected his son's final wish, questioning her knowledge given her distance from the events. When she explained her absence from the subsequent 3 expeditions to the demon world, Ed inquired further about these expeditions. She clarified that the allied nation had sent forces 3 times to rescue Alexis, even knowing they couldn't break through the demon world with an army. They attempted everything possible for a glimmer of hope since no heroes remained to fight. However, despite their efforts, they failed in their missions. Tia, in a surprising tone, inquires how Ed found her secret location. Ed, a bit embarrassed, admits that he recently obtained a magical tool allowing him to locate people, and he was checking in on everyone. However, when he tried it, neither Alexis nor Gonzo responded, leading to his realization. He apologized for the oversight. Sadly murmuring, Tia remarks that it's rather refreshing to confront reality. She expresses the belief that there's no way they could survive against such a massive army. Just then Tia shows him his clothes, which she repaired. She made beautiful flowers on the torn part. She asks him if it is amazing. Suddenly, they feel a vibration, and Ed steps outside, despite Tia stopping him. They witness a massive lesser dragon demon. Curious about its unusual presence, Ed wonders if it's a stray from the mountain. She quickly directs Ed back inside, assuring him that she'll handle it, and pushes him away, confident in her abilities. Her eyes show a blue hue as she creates a water wall with her expertise. She asserts her determination. No one is going to die anymore. I will protect Ed. With focused intensity, she employs her skills, crafting a defensive barrier. In a commanding tone, she invokes a powerful incantation. The sharpness of the silver moon's blade, swirling the wind, is akin to the edge of the green moon. The solidifying feathers of 12 spirits in different realms are those that solidify and dispel dim light. Come together, encircle, and move. In the name of Lunarisha, evoke the triad stream. He is astonished by Tia's display of skill and praises her, marveling at the incredible sharpness of her technique. He couldn't believe how effortlessly she dispatched the threat. He observed that not only did her attack cut through the dragon's scales, but it even cleanly sliced the bones inside. Concerned about Tia's well-being, he noticed her injured hand and asked if she was okay. Despite her heavy breathing, she assured him that she was fine but admitted she might have gotten a bit carried away in her enthusiasm. Ed, worried about her condition, suggested she take some rest, to which she agreed. As Tia walked back inside, Ed couldn't help but feel a sense of anxiety, knowing how intense the battle had been for her. Reflecting on the situation, Tia contemplated her appearance in front of him, wondering if her efforts had been impressive. Meanwhile, Ed, acknowledging her past as a member of the hero's party, assumed she'd be alright despite the battle's toll. He then recalls her urging him to leave. Deciding to deal with the lesser dragon's corpse first, he ponders on preserving it intact in the Wanderer's treasure box, but also considers converting it into meat just in case. While busy, he calls out to Tia twice, receiving no response. Rushing upstairs, he discovers Tia fallen on the ground. Gently turning her toward him, he's shocked by the widespread black bruises covering her body from the heart area to her extremities. Confounded by her condition, he asks about her clothes, rushing her to her bed. After she regains consciousness, he inquires about her condition. She admits to using an elf's secret technique during a fight with Alexis and others, a method that explosively amplifies spirit magic by intertwining one's life force with the magic. Magic tied to one's lifespan? That means the cost she paid was her own lifespan. Ed reacts with surprise, questioning why she was fine until recently and suddenly afflicted. Then, a realization dawns on him that she extended her entire lifespan on that one attack against the lesser dragon. He is stunned that she would risk her life for him. Tia explains that she anticipated he might be killed if she didn't take down the enemy in one strike. She reveals she had very little magic remaining to survive, and her clothes were the only thing keeping her together, allowing her to harness the tree's gathered magic. However, she worries that after using that kind of magic without her clothes, her lifespan is now significantly shortened. Ed questioned her angrily, demanding to know why she changed her clothes. She admitted she was happy to see Ed again, and wanted things to return to how they were before, but it seemed like she failed. She explained that by removing her clothes, she let the magic power of the tree escape, drawing the attention of the demonic beast. Ed sadly realized that everything was his fault, feeling like he was an ill-omened person who brought trouble upon Tia. He reflected on how he came all this way to ensure Tia's safety, yet he blamed himself for the situation. Tia tried to comfort him, telling him not to be saddened and not to worry about her shortened life. She expressed contentment in having lived a fulfilling life, longer than most elves, having met good friends, and above all, reuniting with Ed. Ed pleaded with her not to speak that way, insisting that they just met again and that they still had a long journey ahead. Despite Tia's warnings about their presence, he refused to leave, explaining that although his appearance hadn't changed since they last met, he had spent 100 years gaining experience, traveling across various worlds, meeting different people, and undergoing adventures beyond Tia's imagination. He emphasized that he wasn't the same person he was back then, and had grown stronger over time. He tells her, "That's why, Tia. I'll protect you. This time, don't worry. I'll never leave you alone again. I promise." He sadly reflected on the situation, acknowledging her efforts to stand up for him. He felt helpless, wondering what he could do for her in such dire circumstances. Despite knowing that mowing down a herd of demonic beasts wouldn't bring back his comrades or extend Tia's lifespan, he refused to let things end that way. He pondered the possibility of a miracle, contemplating a newfound skill he acquired recently. He considered the potential of this skill, hoping it might offer a chance to start anew and reset everything.
Here I am,